Good afternoon, everybody. Hi again. It's Scott Fisher with Senior Resource Connectors, and I just want to thank you for joining us. Senior Resource Connectors has embarked on this video series. This is season one of a series of conversations that I'm having with some of the experts of our coalition to talk about some of the most relevant topics that those of us in the age group of 45 to 65 we are faced with, we are encountering because someone we love is also walking through an aging journey, and sometimes that aging journey um, has some challenges to it. And so our role, our hearts as educators, is to help those of you that are walking through this, address those questions, answer those questions, be a resource for you. And today I want to introduce you all to a dear friend of mine. Charles Scott is the owner and principal of Pelleton Capital Management. He's a wealth and financial advisor. He is an educator. He is a genuine good dude. We've known each other for many, many years. And he is a member of our coalition. And so, Charles, I've got a bunch of questions for you, and I want to get into it, but just want to say thanks for joining us and welcome aboard.
Well, it's always nice to be part of a group that, it's not like the Groucho Marx thing who said, anybody that would want me to be a member of the club isn't a club I want to be a member of. That's not this at all. So this is much more purposeful, and we're happy to be here.
Isn't it cool to do something on purpose and for purpose? Yeah.
Well, to know why and to know how, and then to get it done, and it matters.
Yeah. Yeah. In your work as an advisor, as a consultant guide for families, how much is the aging journey impacting the kinds of conversations you and your team have every week?
Oh, all the time. I mean, you're dealing. We have clients that run from the 30s to the 80s. Every decade, we've got somebody or multiple clients that are in those areas, and the younger group is worrying about the older group, and the older group is is worrying about themselves and what about my kids and my grandkids and all of that, and it just crosses over back and forth from generation to generation. And it's how can we help them make wise choices? They have choices they can make. Some people have made some great choices. Some people don't even know what the choices are, and that's part of the challenge. They don't know what they don't know. And they're not even sure who to trust to give them a real answer that will help with them. And that's, and you have to be really careful that you don't lead them down a path that you shouldn't, because, the financial planning and investment and insurance industry is fraught with all kinds of people selling stuff to all kinds of people that they should never sell it to.
Right.
And so you just have to be careful, and they have to learn how. We just tell people, if you don't trust us, then this will never work. Because that's all we're after, is you've got to believe we know we've seen this for years and years and years. I've done this for more than 30 years. Yeah. There's not much I haven't seen. Right. And most of it's pretty good, and some of it's really scary.
I work in a world for over 20 years that's in an unregulated, unlicensed space. I help families navigate that whole issue of trying to find the right senior living.
Yeah.
So unregulated, unlicensed, and we deserve to be scrutinized and maybe slow to be trusted, right? You must carry tons of licenses, certifications. Tell me about the prep work and behind the scenes to make you support the work that you do as an expert.
Well, I have to be securities licensed and have done that since day one. Also have been basically life insurance licensed since day one, because you never know what's the right solution. And there's a lot of times we'll just refer stuff to somebody else that's better, that knows more about it. We tell people all the time, we know what we don't know, but we know someone that knows what we don't know. And we'll make sure that you get in touch with them, because that's where you need to go. You need to go to the person that we believe to be the expert, if that's us. And I'm happy to say a lot of the time, I'm very comfortable claiming to be an expert. But I'll never take somebody down a path that I don't know, because there's no good outcome to that. So let's just make sure they get connected. It's like people like you guys, Scott, and everybody else in this coalition. These are people that have the best interest of the folks at heart, and they have their own areas of expertise. And nobody's smart enough to know everything about everything. Right. And I sure as heck don't. So securities license, insurance license, one of the things I'm very happy with is Sherry, who's my wife and partner in this business. We're both certified dementia practitioners, and I know you are too, Scott. One of the things that we did with that is just to see how the caregiving side of this, what's the process they go through, what's the thought process at the end of the training to be able to get that CDP designation. I looked at Sherry and said, "Oh my God, there's no way in the world I could do that. I'm not emotionally built to do that kind of thing. I'm just not." But it was really important to understand how it works from our perspective, and from a financial perspective. I'm also an accredited investment fiduciary. It's not a legal fiduciary, but it's an investment fiduciary. We're legally obligated to do what's in the best interest of the client. And it's just that simple. I don't know why you'd ever want to do that any other way. I was lucky enough to find that whole idea of fiduciary years and years and years ago. And I think I was in the first couple of 100 people in the country to earn that AIF designation. I was the third in Arizona. I know that for sure.
Really?
Yeah. And so it's just, you got to do the right thing. And if you don't know what the right thing is, ask somebody else that might know, to try to come to the conclusion.
That word fiduciary carries a lot, and it's I think for some people it's a scary word. Matter of fact, I think for a lot of people who aren't I don't know, trained or have tons of experience or come from a family that was comfortable with a lot of financial terms and financial concepts, how much does fear get in the way of the kind of work you want to help people with, and then what do you do to maybe help them over that hurdle?
Well, they're afraid to admit they don't know. They're afraid to admit they're going to get taken advantage of. All those components of fear, just not knowing. I'm going to make a big broad statement, but I believe that ever since I got into the planning world, that in the richest country in the history of the world, we have a population that's financially illiterate. I mean, and that's so sad, but it's true. And they don't know where to start. They don't know if they've done anything. Nobody wants to say, wow, I really have screwed this up and have made terrible choices along the way. And not everybody does that. Some people do some of it, and everybody does some of it most of the time. Rarely has anybody that we've ever encountered just done it absolutely perfectly correctly, from what we would consider to be perfectly correctly. But so in most cases, you're just making some minor tweaks, and you're getting them to understand, if you change this to that, this is what the outcome would be. But because that's what it sounds like you are looking to achieve, and it's all about what they want, because it's the perfect example, Scott, and you've heard me say this before, is everybody's life has a whole bunch of pieces to it. There's personal, there's social, there's family, there's financial, there's all of these things that go on in your life. It's like a big giant jigsaw puzzle. All the pieces. So we always ask folks when we're talking to them initially, what's the most important piece of any jigsaw puzzle? And most people will come back and say the corner. I mean, they're thinking jigsaw puzzles.
Sure.
Most people will come back and say the corners or the edges or that. And it's like, fine, those are all valid answers. Our contention is it's the box top. If you don't have the box top, you don't know what the puzzle is supposed to look like. All we want to do is be the person that clarifies, this is your box top. Here's how we see your puzzle.
Yeah.
And the picture of the puzzle. So let us help you put all those pieces together. It's still your puzzle. It's not our puzzle. It's your puzzle. But the jigsaw puzzle analogy just makes the most sense. And people get that. Oh, okay. Yeah. I see what you're doing.
That's an awesome visual of that somebody's got to point out, hey, where are we going? And you would look at the box top of the puzzle. And we all do. We all set it right in front of us.
It's different for everybody. So it's similar.
Hey, I'm thinking about who might be watching and tuning in with us here, who's in that adult child range, 40s, 60s.
Yeah.
Right. And maybe they haven't done all these right steps, but they're now dealing. Go ahead.
Hey, Sherry, will you tell them to go stop hammering? They're doing construction next door. You get to edit that out.
Bertine will edit that out. Let me ask you
anyway.
Again. Yeah, no, let me start again. Okay, so somebody's watching this and they're in that, they find themselves in the age group we're talking about, and
Yeah,
they might have an aging loved one, mom or dad, are
sure.
moving through the journey. And maybe they have or they haven't. Um, why would they come see you? Or why would someone pick up the phone and I have an answer, but I wanted to hear, you know, why,
Help.
well, help me. Um, what is it that's driving them to pick up the phone, and what are they seeing that would prompt the need for an expert?
That truly runs the gamut of, I think, what kind of relationship have the aging parents that we're now addressing with the younger, you know, the younger kids.
Mhm.
You know, what's their have they what kind of conversations have they had over the years? Have they talked about money? Have they
Yeah.
talked about the things that are important in life, or have they just gone through sort of the cursory um, parenting and child growing up at a distance kind of thing? And I think that makes a difference. And sometimes I think people feel guilty that they didn't do more, or they didn't know more, and it's just like, okay, don't just, you are where you are, you know what you know.
Right.
Let's just take it from here and
Yeah.
see from our point of view as unbiased. I'm not related to anybody here.
Yeah.
How can we help? How can we make sense for all parties concerned, and accomplish what the
If,
goal is of
if
whatever
you
you're
had if
looking
you had
for
this
is.
person in front of you, they've just had to go through a journey, a project with getting their parents maybe placed into senior living, or maybe after a long
Yeah,
protracted illness they passed away, and it was a costly, financially draining experience. And now you have a 60-year-old kid going, man, I don't want that to happen to my kids. Right.
well, yeah.
And so, do
So
they have long-term care insurance? Do they have the right where would they put their investments? What are you going to liquidate to pay for long-term care? I mean, those are the things that you now probably just want to put your arms around that person and say, let me guide you
yeah,
in. Right.
let's yeah just it's let's take the puzzle one piece at a time.
Mhm.
You never open the box, throw it on the table, and it's all put together.
Right.
You've got to just take a bite, go to the next one, do the next one, do the next one. We can help you prioritize what's the
Yeah.
most important, where should you start, what's going to make the biggest difference the quickest. Those are the kinds of things that, just having the experience of done this for a long time, um, you just sort of intuitively know. And then again, it becomes what's been the relationship between child and parent, and has it been uh, I was lucky. My parents were absolutely spectacular. And not very many people can say that we run into. Um, and so it was, if you, how do you have to play the family dynamic in with the whole educational component of how do you make this make sense to people? And again, helping them understand what's the most important part. What are we trying to solve for?
Right.
We can solve for it if we know exactly what it is. And then we get enough information on the backside of this to say, okay, well, if you do this and you move this over here, or you look at it from this point of view, and you know, you change this, or don't do that, do this instead. Um, they're paying us to have it input and advice, and that's what we do.
And I think it's so important that when I'm walking a family through a journey, we tell them right up, there's no cookie cutter answer to how to
So,
solve your parents or your mother's, um, let's say, placement because she has Alzheimer's disease, whatever, right? Um,
right.
you're looking at a situation with the family and going, there is no cookie cutter here. Your puzzle looks different than Joe's puzzle, and let's take a look at that together and align
Yeah.
so that you are
Yeah.
precisely moving towards their priority, their objective.
It's their puzzle. It's
Yeah.
truly their puzzle. And we just help. We've seen lots of puzzles.
Yeah.
Uh, and I mean, it's everybody wants a different outcome. Everybody wants it to look something somewhat different. But there's themes that go through all of this, just like in life. If you think about it, you see the same thing over and over and over and over and over again, because that's kind of human nature.
Well, it is, but when I come in, I was just having a conversation with a couple of the ladies that work with me on my team at my number one company, and I said, you find a lot of people that start a journey with us and don't finish it and they have a hard time making a decision. They're afraid to make the wrong decision, so they
Yeah,
don't make any decision, which is really a decision.
that's right.
Now they're stuck. And
Yeah.
so I gotta imagine that you start down a journey with sometimes people, and then here comes, and as skilled guides, and that's what we are. We're guides for people. Come on, trust me. I've seen this play out. This is where we need to acquire that long-term care insurance
Yeah.
product. Let's apply for that, or this is the tool or the strategy that we're going to deploy to meet that need. Because I don't want your kids to feel what you just felt going through that journey with your parents. I don't want them to be in the same boat you are, shelling out of your own pocket to cover your mom.
Exactly.
You don't want your kids to have the financial responsibility of you. So let's make a plan, right?
And that's totally it. And what's happening now in that whole space of providing some more creative financial opportunities for, the older generation, and also then their kids that we're talking about here, is there's new and innovative ways of solving some of these financial challenges that weren't there even 5 years ago, and certainly not 10 years ago.
Right.
And it's wildly different now than what it was. I mean, candidly, we had a tendency to stay away from the long-term care insurance stuff. I never really thought I understood how it worked. I mean, totally understood how it worked. I wasn't real excited about it in some respects. The changes that have come in that industry have been dramatic, and from our point of view, are much more creative and much more beneficial to people. And that's changing all the time, as they're making it, we feel, better and better and better for the end user, which is perfect.
So much of that old product was the use it or lose it style, right?
Yep.
The long-term care product, you pay into it for 20 years, you stroke,
never need it,
and there's no equity in it, and it's gone. But you've never gotten to use the benefit of it. Now we have new product.
Yeah. And it's, if you never need it, then you still have an asset. You still own the asset. And there's, and we've always said what we try to get people to understand: if you can leverage a dollar, not just liquidate the dollar to pay for care, can I turn that dollar into $2 or $3 of care for you? And again, if you never need it, you still own the original asset. It's from a financial planning point of view, it makes way more sense.
Yeah. I know we could get, and I intentionally wanted to have this conversation where we're talking about what the challenges, and I think the heart challenges, the emotional, the mental health, mental challenges that we all engage in when we're walking a journey for someone that we love or with someone that we love. And I know you've got a million things you can teach us that are in the detail realm and specific strategies, and that's why people come to see you. But I wanted to appeal to people today, and you've done an awesome job of getting to the heart of the matter of what we are experiencing, and that's why we're doing this video series. And so and
it's not just from the head, it's not just the logical stuff, it's from the heart. It's how can we help you feel better, more comfortable with the choices that have been made and that can be made going forward, so that your whole being says, okay, we've done everything that we can possibly do. We've learned enough to make the best possible choices given what we know to be true.
Yeah. Well, I can't thank you enough for taking. Yeah, I agree. And I know we can, and here at Senior Resource Connectors, we are here for you to take your questions, take your calls, and then we guide you to the right coalition members. So if you have financial questions or issues, you get a hold of us at our office. Our contact information will follow. We'll get you in touch with Charles for a more specific conversation about what's on your puzzle box, right?
That's exactly it. Yes.
But
we're just happy to be part of this, because it's a stunning group. And this, Scott, we talk to people around the country that do what we do. They're very jealous that this doesn't exist in other areas of the country.
Well, thank you. And I appreciate it. I get to share my friends with all of the world that so many of us, particularly here in the Metro Phoenix area, we need it. I mean, the demographics are profound, that our loved ones are aging around us. We're getting closer to that point ourselves. And so I will certainly want to pay attention and not put my own kids through for some of the things we've been through with our parents. So listen, Charles, I just want to thank you again. I am
My pleasure.
honored. I appreciate you and Sherry so much. Thank you for your contribution. Everybody, if you need anything from us, we are here for you. Senior Resource Connectors. I'm going to say so long, Charles.
Been a
Thank you.
pleasure. Thank you, Scott.
See you soon.